Hi, it's Paul Lee here from Paul Lee Music. I've had several requests off you to show you some more of the sounds of the wonderful Kawai ES920 piano. Now, as you know, on the last video, I showed you the core piano sounds. Now, today, I'm going to show you some of the other sounds that are available on the instrument, some of the electric pianos, the strings, the organs, show you how to use some of the effects, and also show you some of the rhythms. So keep tuned, keep watching. Let's now get up close and personal with the Kawai ES920. So here we are, up close and personal with the Kawai ES920. We're going to look first of all at the electric piano sounds. And so as I push through those and we get the different ones, you may notice that these buttons vary with what's lit. So let's just talk a little bit about that effects section before we do there. So we have got, actually on any section, but it's fairly dominant, I feel, on the electric piano section more than probably some of the others. Well, probably that and the organ sounds as well, in actual fact. So what have we got? We've got reverb. Of course, that's the echo, the acoustic of a particular room, whether it's a small room or a large room, which appears on just about everything, doesn't it? Then we've got effects there. Now, those are sort of effects like chorus, which is like a sort of thickness of the sound. We've got delays, stuff like that. And then the amp is an amp simulator. That is used really just for the electric piano sounds, and as we'll see in a moment, the organ sounds. That's simulating, obviously, particularly with electric pianos, they were actually amplified through a cabinet. Some of them did have their own speakers built in, but generally they were put through a cabinet, and that was like a guitar amplifier cabinet, that sort of thing. And that would give you the particular tone. So it has modelling of different amp types. So if we first of all hear the basic classic electric piano, let's hear the effects. Here it is actually with nothing on. This is completely dry. Which is very pleasant. And then if I add a little bit of reverb, we've got a bit of an acoustic there. And then we can thicken it up with a little bit of effects on there. Now, for example, if I push and hold that button, then it allows me via the display to change the actual effect. And if you can see here, I don't know if you can see this, but we've got phaser, classic pan, classic phaser, compressor, rotary. That's emulating, of course, the organ Leslie speaker. We've got delay, which is, of course, is echo. Ping pong delay, which bounces around the speakers. And we've got chorus as well. So if I put chorus on, but it all comes into play even more so when I push the amp on. Now, at the moment, that says on there, I don't know if you could see that there, it says S case 1. That's suitcase. That's sort of the amplifier that you would have put a Fender. This particular first electric piano is a Fender Rhodes piano. And that one is actually going through an amplifier. Either some of them, as I said, electric pianos would have had internal amplification, but generally they were plugged into bigger amps. So that brings... You can hear a little bit of distortion, bit of overdrive on there, on that particular one. And I can change that to the second one. And then that L cabinet, we don't want that, I mean, that's a Leslie cabinet. Very experimental. I suppose you could put an electric piano through a Leslie speaker. I've never tried it myself, but hey ho, you know, it's worth experimenting, isn't it? Now, the other thing about these particular amps, let's just go back to suitcase 1 again. If I then push the menu up button, I can then change the amount of drive, the simulator level, that's the overall volume of the simulator, and then we've got a basic, what we call two-band high-low shelving EQ, just to adjust it tonally to your liking. So if I take that right back to 1, if I bring that up, that brings up the volume, as we can see there. The drive is actually the distortion of the amp, the overdrive of the amp, so you don't want too much of that on there. Okay, so that's... Once I've set that on a particular sound, that will actually stay on there. So those three now, if I actually go to a piano, for example, and come back to that electric piano, that same one, it will actually keep those on. It remembers what you've set it to. So every time you come to switch on that piano again, it will always have those coming on, unless you change it. Brilliant idea. So if I flick through some of the others, you'll see that they're switching off, depending on what they are, which is quite useful. So basically, you've got a whole variety of fiddling around with the sounds on there that you can actually do. Let's hear some of them anyway. So some of them I might have fiddled around with myself. So we've had the electric piano 1 there. That's the main classic electric piano. Let's have the classic electric piano 2, which comes up with a phaser on the effects section there. That's for me, I personally prefer that one because it's a little bit brighter, isn't it, there? Electric pianos, rather like acoustic pianos, are a personal taste. I think they're rather nice on here. Again, they've got that warmth. There's a nice little bit of mechanical stuff going on in them there. You know, I'm sure you could probably get better on some other stuff that's really devoted to this type of electric piano sound. But I like it. I think it's absolutely fab. You know, there's nothing wrong with those at all. Let's hear some other ones. I think if we move along, what's this one? That's your Wurlitzer. So the others were Fender Rhodes. That's your Wurlitzer. That's more sort of a... And that's going through a sort of tremolo, which is that classic thing. You had a tremolo circuit on a Wurlitzer piano. That was their version of the Fender Rhodes. Worked in a similar principle. And again, you've got all the amps and different things. And if I push the effects button, I can see it says classic tremolo there, which we could switch off to vibrato. Auto panning, that's spinning between the speakers left and right. We've got phaser there. But sorry, the sort of effect that you tend to see here with these would be your tremolo, really, the classic tremolo. So there's a few there. I think if we keep going through, it says modern electric piano. That's probably, the modern electric piano is probably the DX, the Yamaha DX synth modelled piano. That's the sound from the DX7 synthesizer, made famous by that in the 80s, that was on every 80s album. I still love it, and it is a nice... Which it is, Whitney Houston, all the rest of it. Again, what I'm going to do, I'm going to thicken that up a little bit there. I'm going to add a little bit more reverb. At the moment it says concert hall there. I'm going to change it to live hall. I'm going to add a lot more depth to it, so we're adding more, introducing more reverb to the actual sound, maybe a bit longer time. Also, I'm going to add a nice thick classic chorus. Again, I can adjust that as well. We've got the amount of stereo effect to the chorus there, the speed of the chorus, adjustable there. Let's see what that sounds like. We tend to think of Whitney Houston, but I actually, if I remember, on the her 1985 album, this is by the way, I think they actually did use a Fender Rhodes. I don't think it was a DX electric piano. Can't remember, but don't worry about commenting on it, because, you know, it's it's one of those things, isn't it? So, but that's nice. I like that. I'm still a sucker for that, because I remember the 80s. Very nice, by the way, if you combine that with actually the acoustic piano as well, you still get that sort of what they used to call a MIDI grand. By the way, that's something I did there. You can mix two sounds together dead easy. Just push the two buttons. How easy is that? Anything. It's brilliant, isn't it, that? So all I did was just go, oh, I like that electric piano. I'll mix it with a piano. And then you do. There it is. There we've got the SK concert grand piano. That's the big guy, the big concert grand, the large one. There we are. Isn't that? I still love that sound. Maybe it's dated. I don't care really. I think it's rather nice. You know, 80s music is back. I know when I'm playing synths and all that. Everybody loves a bit of the old 80s music. Proper stuff, you know. So there we go. That's the electric pianos, basically. So remember, use the effects, fiddle around with the effects. You get loads of sounds on there. Mix it with other sounds. Goodness gracious me. I mean, you know, great fun just by doing that. You know, you don't have to, but, you know, it's great fun. So that's electric pianos. We're going to come back now, moving along, and we're going to look at the organ sounds. So we've got a few different samples on here. Again, the organ section makes use, as we will see here, of the different effects on the actual unit. Now, first of all, the very first one that comes up when we push the button, as you can see there, we've got a few different ones coming up. The first one is the jazz organ. That's probably recorded from a well-known Hammond company, if you know what I mean. Now, so the jazz organ there, that's got the usual percussive sort of... Now, there's one or two additions to that. First of all, it's going through the reverb. So again, we can add more reverb to that. I kind of would probably put a little bit more reverb on there. So we can actually, and if I'd probably as well, probably put it through something a bit bigger in sound. I don't know if you can hear that there, but there we go. That's a bit better, isn't it? So, you know... You know, that gives it a bit more of an acoustic. Also, it's going through, well, we've got the reverb. If I push this, it tells me it's going through rotary. Rotary is the famous Leslie cabinet there, or the rotary tremolo. In fact, it's not the Leslie cabinet. Sorry, we'll come to that in a moment. It's actually a rotary effect. It's the swirling, the movement of the motors turning some horns on a traditional Leslie cabinet, but it's a rotary effect. The actual cabinet sound of a Leslie cabinet comes from, again, the amp modelling over here. So, but there were two speeds on a rotating cabinet, and I don't think you can see that, but on of the three pedals, the left-hand most pedal there actually adjusts the speed. So at the moment it's slow. If I push that, it says rotary speed fast. And then if I push the pedal again, we get the slow. So that's the left-hand most pedal, the one going that way. Okay, now, so what have we got here? So we push this, as we said, we've got rotary 1, and then by pushing that value key there, we've got a thicker... that one there, that's actually sounded like it was on fast, it was on slow there, but that's got a little bit of vibrato, I think, on there as well as the organ rotary effect. If we push that again, what have we got next? Oh, then we go on to the other effects, yeah, so we're not bothered about those perhaps so much with the organ. So that's that. So really, we've got reverb going to the rotary. Then we've got here L cabinet. That means Leslie cabinet there. So these, again, comes up with the suitcase type of amp simulation here that we first saw on the electric pianos. Leslie cabinet, if we switch that off, we've got the speed change, worked again by the pedal. But then if I put that on, let's hear the difference. There's a little bit more treble coming in there, a bit more character, a bit of a woody effect. And again, that all is remembered when you actually select that sound. So if I then change the sound, that will actually remember what we've had before. Or alternatively, we can save it into the registration memories, which we'll try and, if we have time, show you that in a minute. Now, if I then push the next one, it comes up drawbar organ. Let's see what that is. More of a complement one, or one sort of more for... that sort of thing on there. Bit of a softer, mellower drawbar sound, isn't it, that? And then we've got ballad organ, which is actually mellower still. That's sort of in the background, isn't it? That sort of effect there. Not that bothered about that, really. That's neither here nor there. But, you know, some people might find it's got a use. Then we come to the pipe organ simulations principle. That's actually... generally on a pipe organ, the sort of diapason chorus, where it's got a mixture of different diapasons, pipes on an organ, which is your core softer church organ. Well, not softer, it's still a big church organ sound, but not your big reedy mixture sort of sound. That's your sort of, I would say, I'm going to put a bit more reverb on there. Let's just change that. I'm going to change that to cathedral, and let's give it some depth and some time. That one would be more when people come, you know, your general hymn practice. Bit too much reverb length there I've put on there. That's your sort of sound you might hear more when people are coming into church. Anyway, let's move on. Now we've got the final organ sound, which is the big church organ sound. Again, on that one, I'm going to put a bit more reverb on that. It's on cathedral already, a bit more depth to it, maybe a bit more length. Let's just put even more depth on it. So that's your big sort of... That's your big organ sound there. So not as big as some. I mean, I personally would like one with a bit more of a throaty sound to it, a bit more mixture in the ranks, and a bit more reeds on there. But again, it's probably been made for gentle accompanying in churches or schools or whatever. And now we've got the next section, so we're going to have a look here at some of the other sounds that we've got after the organ sound. So we've now got harpsichord. That's pretty standard stuff, but all useful for, you know, people into Baroque and all that sort of wonderful side of music. And here is the harpsichord. Which is very pleasant, very nice indeed. What else do we got? Vibraphone. And clavichord there, or clarinet. I think it's clarinet. Yeah, it is clarinet. Yes, not clavichord. Clarinet, that's it. And marimba, if we've got a use for a marimba, there it is. There we are. So there's that one there, and that's all in that section. Then we've got the string section. A very nice little selection of sounds on here that are very blendable with some of the other instruments. You might not use those on your own, but they are very nice when they're mixed with other things, which is probably the reason they're on here, really. The first one is the string ensemble there, which is more of your sort of... We've got a slow string, which on its own is that sort of very pleasant sound. That's nice when mixed with the grand piano there. So if you mix the two together, simply by pushing the two buttons, don't forget, we now have the concert grand piano in slow strings. And I think that's very nice. That's a lovely rich sort of sound on there. Sometimes you find that it can be a little bit uncomfortable. I've had other digital pianos before where when you mix together the piano and the strings, you can't quite find the right tone of string to sort of underpin the piano sound. But on here, it's absolutely right. To my ears, the way I do things, it is lovely. There is also a string pad, probably synthetic. Yeah, that's just sort of, isn't it? Almost like it's got a bit of a piccolo in the background there, but it's probably more of a synthetic synth string. And then we've got warm strings, another variation. That's definitely synthetic. Now that would go really well with you, probably with that sort of modern piano, I would imagine there. You know, that's. Again, Whitney Houston-y sort of thing on there. Then we've got a choir there, an ooh-ah choir. Again, beautiful in its own way, especially if you stick a bit of extra reverb on there as well. You know, nice bit of depth of reverb there. And it sort of slightly changes by the velocity that you use on there. Very pleasant. Again, you could probably mix that with a church organ and that, you know, very nice on its own, you know, very, very... I think these sounds have maybe been made to blend to the other sounds because whereas you might not use them necessarily on their own, of course you could, I also think that they are really at their best when they actually are mixed and blended with, all the other instruments on the unit. Pop ensemble. There we are. I don't know what you'd play for that. You know, sort of. Yeah, you know, whatever on there. Square pad. Oh, we've got some synth sounds as well. You know, there. There's your sort of very 80s. I think that's sort of like a bit like a Roland sort of sound there. Very, very pleasant. What's that like with the piano? Never tried that before. That's, sort of thing you can do with that. And then we're back where we started. Finally, there's a bass section as well there. Again, yeah, you wouldn't have that on its own. That is very much made to be blended, where you would actually not so much blend as split the keyboard. So, you know, you could have you've got there an upright bass there. And you've got, what else? You've got electric bass. Which is very nice, actually, very pleasant, you know, very usable. Another one there. You know, so there's various different ones there. If you wanted to mix that with a particular right-hand sound, it's very easy to do, actually. Just let's say we had again, going back to the concert grand piano there, simply push split there and then just select the sound. And then by holding split, we can actually go through the different permutations. So that's now giving me the left-hand sound. I can actually change that through. So if we had, for example, the wood bass, the upright bass, and the ride cymbal, then I can play right-hand piano, which I've split it to about there. You can change the split points. You can move it wherever you want. You can have, you know, the bass up there if you want, and the piano up there, or, you know, move it right down where the piano goes down to here. But that's... So that's rather fun. Certainly if I was gigging like one does, you know, I would use that certainly, because that's a great fun thing to play with. That's basically all the sounds on there. I'm going to finish with something that, if you request it, there are loads more things to show you. If you want me to show you more about over here, the actual virtual technician, which adjusts, as I said in my first video, how you actually adjust all the different permutations, all the different tonalities, the interactions, etc. Of the actual... Oh, my lamp just moved there, excuse me. Right, there we go. So yes, virtual technician, that is great for you know, all those different things you want to do to customize your piano sound. If you want to know more about that and you want me to do a video on that, do let me know. There are other things. There's a USB side, there's a sequence side, recording to USB, lots of other things. If you do want me to show you those things in detail, in depth, and more about maybe the split points and layering sounds and adjustments, because there's lots of things to show you there, do let me know. One area I can also discuss in another video is actually how to use the drum section. I don't know if you know about this, but there are actually 100 drum sounds on here covering all sorts of styles, and each drum pattern, whether it's disco, whether it's rock, shuffle, whatever it is, has two sides. It has, like, if you like, a sort of a verse version and a chorus version. And I can just show you that because I've set up a registration here. Again, that's the other thing, registrations as well, don't forget. You can set up everything you want, all your permutations of splits, layers of sounds, what rhythm pattern you're using here as well, can all be stored within a registration, of which there are a lot on there. They certainly are, and they can all be backed up as well to USB, as well as all your settings of the instrument, your virtual technician settings, etc. There's loads of things to talk about, really. We've got the 4-band EQ. Oh my goodness gracious me, there's so much this thing will do, and it is so customizable. It is a wonderful instrument. You can make it as simple as you want. Don't get me wrong here, you can literally buy this, plug it in and play it, and not adjust anything if you don't want to, just use it as it came out of the factory. It's only for if you like noodling, as a lot of us do, you know, on there, but you don't have to. You can just plug it in and play it. You don't need to. That's for us sad people who love fiddling around and adjusting things. I'm always doing it myself, you know, I really am, and I love it. But just to show you, just to finish this particular video with, I've got a registration here. I've got the, that's the, EX piano sample, which is a bit more bright and strong, and I've just put a basic rhythm pattern. This is just an 8-beat pattern there. I've set the tempo. And I've got there a drum part, a bass part, and a guitar part. Those can be switched off. You can have just the drums, or drums and bass, or drums and guitar. I've left them all on, and I'm going to show you the two different patterns just to do a little riff with that, see what that sounds like. So we just simply push start, gives us a 4-bar counting, and then we can use these controls here to change it from the basic verse pattern to the chorus pattern. So let's see what that sounds like. Thank you very much for watching that video. I hope that you enjoyed it there. Like I said, do subscribe to my channel where I will be doing more tutorial videos and also more demos and reviews. Also, don't forget, any other features you want to hear about or know how to work on this instrument, do let me know and I'll be more than happy to supply another video. But thanks very much for watching and I hope to see you soon. Bye!